Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Don't force me out of bed in your society. Don't push me down the road you're bringing down. Don't try to fix my head, it's just your anxiety. Don't hush me now, cause I just wanna shout. Don't make me dance to a tune that you're humming. No, my body don't move like that. Don't make me pretend I don't see your shortcomings. You'll be running when I'm
welcome, streamers. It is Friday around here at Live Streaming Pros, and I am so excited to have you here. We've got a lot to cover today. We have Apple stuff to talk about. Rene Ritchie is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. I'm going to let him take a breather and recover after that amazing countdown timer dance. But he's going to be joining us. He has his hands on the new M1 Max Studio and the Ultra Studio and the Studio Display. So we're going to test it all out, hear his pros, cons, after having used it. Also, we have new YouTube Live features that I want to break down for you that are either coming now or coming soon or being rolled out over some time. So we've got tons to cover. It is also open Q&A day, of course. So after we get through all of this stuff, you are just more than welcome to ask any question that you would like to ask as well. Yes, the new features are fantastic. So let me break down all of those. So YouTube has released some new features for YouTube Live specifically, and I want to break those down for you and tell you what's coming down the pipeline for you as a YouTube Live streamer. First and foremost, we've got Pilot. So Pilot is essentially an interview feature functionality from the phone. So if you're going live from the phone, this should look very familiar to you. This looks exactly like it does on Instagram Live, for example. So you'll have the top bottom interview style where you can invite a guest to join you and have that conversation. Now, the person's channel, the interviewee's channel or the guest channel is actually not displayed. I do hope that they change that so that over time, you can have, you can feature people, right? And so like if I'm having Renee on a channel interview, I want his channel loud and clear. I've tagged him in our title here so that you can easily just click over and go to his channel. So that functionality, it would be nice to see come to this interview feature, which again is called it's called Go Live Together. I don't know why I said pilot, because it says pilot, because this is a pilot feature. So Go Live Together is the feature, what it's called. It is in pilot status, so you aren't necessarily going to be able to get access to it immediately. Now, second up is called Live Rings. Now, this should also look very familiar to you. This means basically when a channel is live. Are you okay, Abs? She's coughing. So when a channel is live, you're gonna see that red ring around their avatar on mobile. This is not coming to desktop just yet. This is on mobile, but you've seen this on TikTok, you've seen this on Instagram. This is a normal thing to occur, and so I'm looking forward to this being on desktop as well. This really helps you if let's say you're watching a video of a channel, then you're going to be able to say like, oh, like I like this channel, they're live, so like I like the information that I got from this video, let me go check them out in their live stream because they are live right now. The other thing is very, very exciting, live redirects. Live redirects have been available, and unfortunately, I could never really utilize them because they were only channel specific. So what a live redirect is, once you're done with your live stream, or a trailer, you can actually send people to a trailer or to another live stream on your channel. It has been channel specific, only housed within your existing channel. You can only redirect within your channel. And the reason I couldn't ever use it is because it was, well, I don't have another live stream. If I'm live, I'm ending my live stream, I'm not going to send somebody to another live stream, right? But I could send them to maybe a trailer or something, but it's not very effective. unless we play it with where they're going and what they're enabling, which is cross-channel specific platforms, right? So like I can send a live stream. When I'm done with my live stream, I can say, you know who's live right now? Rene Ritchie is live right now. We're gonna let's all go on over to his channel and watch his live. Now on Twitch, this is a really popular feature. It's called raids. So when you're done with your live stream, you literally send all of your viewers over to that other channel that you want to raid, and the chat room gets all live and active with raid from this channel, right? LSP raid, LSP raid, LSP raid. You have emotes and emojis, emoticons essentially, to kind of identify or indicate that it is a raid. And it is a really positive way to build community, to connect with others and collaborate. So I loved doing that on Twitch. I'm really excited to see that on YouTube. However, the one thing that I'm not clear on is if it works exactly like Twitch, which assuming it's not. Essentially, we can send them over, but I don't know if everybody gets like ported over yet. So we'll have to see how that functionality actually works. But the concept is really good and I'm very excited by it. Now, the other thing that they are launching is a full screen mode, and that looks like this. Is when you're watching, you kind of like pull back and you're kind of lay back experience, right? So you can watch, and then you can also have that chat pop up, that live chat experience pop up. The other thing that they're doing, and we don't have any visuals for this yet, is a kind of a live Q&A feature. So as a creator, if I want to have a question pinned, I can kind of answer that question live, and while I'm answering that, it will be pinned to the top of the chat so everybody can see the question that I'm answering. For a live Q&A, that is a fantastic option and functionality for a live stream. So when all of these features are great, I'm very, very excited by them, and I'm looking forward to them rolling out. Now, don't think that you're going to immediately and automatically have access to all of these. They are rolling out to certain creators or over time to more people. So just keep an eye on your channel and hopefully you get it. If you do, and when you do, please do keep us informed. Tell us how it's going for you. Test out these things with your community and see how it engages people and how it increases that relationship with your audience. I'm very excited by these new YouTube live features. All right, so let's get down to Mac business. Who is ready to see Apple related stuff? We're gonna bring Rene Ritchie on here real quick. Nice to see some new stuff coming out from YouTube. Exactly. Nice for questions. You like that? That would be wonderful on YouTube. So you guys are really liking these. It's basically raids with a different name. Yes, exactly. I don't think that it'll have the oomph or the excitement that a raid on Twitch has. I hope that they get there, but that is one of my most favorite features of this rollout, because we will really be able to connect with other people. Like, I love sharing my community with other communities. I love being able to support other channels and other creators, and this is a great way to do it. I just hope it's like all of the cool stuff, not just like a simple version of it, but I expect it to be a simple version and then over time get better functionality. Alrighty, Renee, hi.
Hello, Maria. It's so good to see you.
We are going to dive in to Mac Studio, all the things, Mac Studio, Mac Display. So Rene Ritchie, you guys know him from his channel. If you don't, go subscribe. He is all things Apple, and he has the Max, the Ultra, and the Display in his hands, and Are we ready to dive in? We're going to talk pros, cons, all the things, right?
Yeah, so many things.
Wait,
so
hold
many
on.
Mighty Mini Macs.
Hold on, Renee. Hold on. You are way out of sync.
I am?
At first,
What happened?
At first, your lips didn't move, and I was like, that was just a glitch.
Okay.
But yeah, you're definitely out of sync. So what I'm going to have you do is hop on out and come right back in, okay?
Yes.
Tell me more about what I bought. Exactly, Cindy, right? So my Mac comes in end of March, 1st of April. I'm very, very much looking for that. They also need to add, so YouTube also needs to add gifted memberships. Yes, they do. They need to take a lot of cues from Twitch, to be honest. So they're working on it. It's maybe a little slower than I would like, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly. Renee! Let's see. Can we test?
How are you?
Okay, good. We're good now. That was just
good.
really wacky. Okay. So let's talk Mac and all of the new Apple Ultra Studio, the Mac Studio, the Apple Display. Renee has this bad boy in his hands, and we are going to dive into all the pros and the cons and what he thinks. That is a massive device right there. That's a massive Mac Mini.
It's the world's biggest Mac Mini. Yeah, it's not a Mini Mac Pro. It's a Mac Mini Pro.
That was confusing.
Yes.
Oh.
I mean, welcome to my world.
Yes, exactly. So Renee, right now you are actually we're gonna talk about the Mac M1 Max.
The Max.
Ooh, okay, Apple. Now come on.
How many Macs could you max with the M1 Max if the M1 Max could max?
I don't 5. I don't know.
Yes.
Whoa. We're going to talk
Branding is
about
hard.
the Max and the Ultra, but first, let's talk about the Studio Display because I want to point out that you're not coming in on your normal setup with your fancy camera and your fancy mic. You might not think he sounds as good as normal because he's using the Studio Display mic and camera. So I'm going to go full screen on you and just let you take it over here.
Yeah. So this is a lot of trade-offs. So you have what Apple calls their studio quality mics, which they mean is sort of like a USB quality mic that you could use in a pinch if you're regular.
Sorry, Super Chat. Thank you, Jason. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. So you could use that in lieu of a regular mic if you don't have one available, or you just don't use it often enough that you want to buy a dedicated mic. It's nowhere nearly as good as like an XLR mic if you have a good interface, but it is way better than what you usually get on a computer. And it's using a lot of computational audio to sort of noise remove and make your voice sound as good as it possibly can. Again, nowhere like all the fancy mics we're using, but if you're just getting started and this is what you have, it's better than what you used to have. The camera is even more of an issue because it's using what Apple calls center stage. So if you have an app that's center stage aware, like FaceTime or WebEx or any of the major ones, it's actually an ultra wide lens and it crops down to wide angle and then it follows you around like some sort of targeting system, and it'll pan and scan to keep you in frame, and it'll zoom in and out if other people come in or go out of the frame. It's exactly what they've been doing on the iPads for a while now. It's the first time it's on a Mac, but it's a huge trade-off because for normal use like this, it's cropping in on an ultra wide angle, which means you're losing a ton of pixels. So it's nowhere nearly as high resolution as a normal wide angle would be.
So can you not turn that off or activate it when you want that crop?
Yeah, well, otherwise it would be like super wide angle. So you'd be like,
true.
You'd be all distorted around the edges, and you'd be a tiny head in the middle.
Yeah. So
I don't know why they did it. I would rather they didn't do it, but they did it.
I was excited by it, but you're right. I wasn't looking at that quality difference. So essentially, I think it looks good. I'd have to compare it side by side, but I'm sure you have the new M1 MacBook Pros. That camera looks pretty darn awesome. How do you think it compares?
So if you're doing like a cooking show or an interview show or something fun and dynamic, a fitness show, it's good that it can pan around and keep you in frame as you move around, as maybe other people come in and out. That's fantastic. But pixel for pixel, it's not as good as the MacBook Pro. And also, this seems to be buggy right now because it's the exact same hardware as the 10.2-inch iPad, but it's computationally flattening me right now. Like, it's getting rid of almost all the shadows. It's sort of like that bug with the iPhone XS in the beginning. So Apple says they have a software update on the way to sort of fix all this. But for right now, it's a little bit flat and a little bit, I don't know, clumpy.
Yeah, so for anybody who really hasn't trained their eye to see that, maybe dig in a little bit more in terms of what you mean by clumpy.
So what Apple's been doing for a long time now, there's a physical limit to what kind of camera you can fit inside a thin device. Like Lurie and I are both usually using real lenses, like, and they're wide, like they have a huge Z index. These are all flattened inside a phone or a pad or a display. So they use big compute to make up for the lack of big glass and big sensor. And what it does is analyze it, fuse together multiple images, so you get some overexposed, some underexposed, so you get detail in the highs and the brights and details in the shadows, in the deep, like the deep darks. And it's supposed to make it better than what it could possibly be otherwise. But if you do it wrong, it just composes everything flat.
Yeah. And so I think what I'd like for people to see is a comparison between what we're looking at right now, which for clarity's sake is the Mac Studio display. And so that's what he's coming in on. Why don't you switch over to your primary camera that you normally use?
Yes.
And you're going to see the quality difference when he does this. Then we've got to move the studio display there. And so now you can see, you know, he's got a lot of separation. He looks three-dimensional. He looks, you know, like there's obviously a higher quality difference. You don't think we're ever going to see this kind of quality in a display camera.
No, I mean, you never say never. And
wait, hold on. So we were using your display
I'm switching
mic.
mics, 1 second.
So let's also switch mics. So you heard what he sounded like before. Now he's going to come in on his full studio, and you'll be able to hear the difference. But his audio sounded really funky there because he had set the display down. Oh, no audio. We got no audio from you now.
There we go. Is that better?
There we go. Now we got you.
All right. Sorry about that. So many buttons.
That's a good point, actually. Paul mentioned his top changed from gray to black. You're right. It was coming in more gray with the studio display camera.
Yeah, well, it means like this is a 70mm lens. I use 70mm because I find like the compression is good. If I don't have it, I look like Gollum with like super big nose, super tiny ears. So everyone has to find the framing that suits them best.
Yeah.
But this is like $1,000 lens as opposed to $1,000 display.
For sure. Yeah. So you were answering the question of like, will we ever see that quality in a display or an iMac type of situation? And it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Nick, never say never because technology is amazing. We live in a time of wonders, but ultimately it's just physics. Like you can't fit that much glass in there. So you're simulating everything. And if you simulate it too much, it looks uncanny. Like you can tell like the fake blur effects sometimes are really fake blur effects. Or like the shadows just look wrong or you can't get a silhouette where you expect to get a silhouette.
Oops, sorry.
Old game, but I think we're going to get better and better.
Yeah. Sorry, I hit the wrong button because I was trying to fix your audio. You're out of sync again. Okay. Oh, no. So hop back out and come back in. I'm going to take some comments real quick while he hops out and comes back in. The new built-in mic seemed to be so choppy. Jill! Hi. But yeah, so it's away from you. It's not targeted. It's like on the display. So naturally, it is going to not be as high quality for sure, even if the monitor and the quality cameras will be even better. So nice to catch up. Yes. So let's see. We've got some questions coming in, but let's check out your just how are you sounding?
Good. How are you? Do I sound better? I fixed?
Yeah, you look fixed. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good.
And back to business. So we had a quick question, which will bring us out of. Do you have anything else to say about the studio display, or is it time to get down and dirty into the Max and Ultra?
So the last thing I'll say about the display is for like the last 5 years, nerdy Macs have been saying, just give us the iMac without the Mac. Just give us the LG Ultrafine without the LG. And this is exactly that. And that does anger people who wanted more, who wanted like a 4K or a gaming display. You could already get those. You could not get this. So if this is what you wanted, now you finally have it.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. So now we have some questions that'll bring us into the topic. Does the Mac Studio have replaceable parts like RAM or SSD?
No. So this is sort of like the spiritual successor to the 2013 trash can Mac Pro, where every sort of expansion option is supposed to be external. It is a little box with a massive amount of compute that you're just supposed to put somewhere and then forget about.
Did you? Oh, sorry. That was the super chat.
That was
Somebody
Callie, not me.
super chatted. That was who super chatted. I did not see a super chat come in, but thank you. Somebody's going to tell me. The team will tell me. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah, so that's basically it. This is designed to have just massive compute inside, and anything that you want to expand, you have to do it outside through Thunderbolt.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's break it down. I did a whole video last week on the Max versus the Ultra, and my thought from the specs is that for most content creators and most streamers, we really don't need the Ultra. It's a little like out there in terms of capabilities, right? It's going to be too much for most people, and why spend that extra money if you don't really need it? So those were my thoughts when I looked at the specs. What are your thoughts on who should get which device? Like, what are they best for?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, the M1 Max is going to be complete overkill already. But if you have experienced with that, or you just know your needs and you think the Max is going to be hitting up against any kind of wall, the Ultra is going to smash through that wall like the Kool-Aid Man. That's basically what it's like. I know Ken and Glenn talk about like 1 GPU per guest on an interview, for example. Scaling from 32 GPUs to 64 GPUs, 64 potential people, that's enormous. That's what you'd get for like rendering huge sci-fi movie scenes. And I think generally people who need that much power, 32 neural engines, 20 core CPUs, 64 core graphics, they either know that they need it and it will make them more money having it, or they already have all the money in the world and they just want to have it.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're creating the next like crazy film, then you need it.
Yeah.
If not, then the Max should do you fine. Is the Max even too much?
For most people, the Max is going to be like the Pro is probably where I think 90% of people are going to be more than satisfied. It just presents so much compute power in such a small size. If you go to the Max, you're already doing things like a lot of 8K video. So if you need 18 streams of 8K video, if you're doing Fuller House for Netflix and you need to have 18 different 8K streams running at the same time in Final Cut or something, that's a very, very specific need. It's just not one for very many people.
So you're saying both the Max and the Ultra are overkill?
Yeah, I mean, like you'll know it if you need it. Like it's one of those things where it's a workstation. Like if you decided you need a workstation, then you're talking Max, and various degrees of workstation, you're talking Ultra.
So then most of this audience, streamers, just don't need either. Like I feel like there's a good fit for the Max at the, let's say 16 gigs and of RAM, and but like I think that makes sense for streamers who want to push the limits of their stream. The MacBook Pro, like I don't want to buy a MacBook Pro if I'm just gonna keep it at the desk for my studio, right?
Yeah, like especially with the Luria Petrucci philosophy, if you want to have a dedicated box for your streaming, you don't
Yeah.
want 800 other things going on. And then depending on what you do with that, like this has all the ports. It has way more ports than a Mac Mini would have. And if you don't want to use a breakout box because you want to reduce any potential problem areas, you want everything just going straight into the machine. It's got 10 gigabit, Ethernet built in. It's got 4 Thunderbolt ports. The Ultra has 6 Thunderbolt ports.
Yeah.
It's got 2 old school USB-A ports. So it's got all of that. And if you do need the RAM, like you plan on doing other things, like you're going to repurpose your stream through video editing, or you're going to do like a whole bunch of other stuff all at the same time, then the amount of RAM that you can get is way more.
Yeah. And I would argue, so for some streamers, the Mac Mini M1 is more than enough. But for me, like if you're gonna add to your studio, like I didn't feel really comfortable filling up my Mac M1, so I got 2. Right? So like I didn't feel like it had enough power to really push some limits. So there's a gap between the M1 Mac Mini and then the M1 Mac Studio Max, right? And so I think that they're for anybody who's going to really be doing higher level productions with like multiple cameras and really pushing the limits with graphics and stuff, it's not a bad price point to add or to your mix, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
And there's a rumor that there's going to be a Mac Mini Pro, either like an M2 Mac Mini Pro at some point. So you could wait, but if you don't want to, this will give you more than that, and it'll future-proof you, especially if you keep your computers for like 3 to 5 years or more.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, you have to, I think that's one of the biggest things about making a decision is how do you operate with new computers? It's the same when you're trying to decide if you want the new iPhone. Are you a person who keeps it around? You did a video on this recently, which was really nice. And you actually tried some really cool new graphics stuff, which I liked on that video. But, are you going to keep your phone or your computer for 5 years, or are you going to change over every new device, which some people do? So you have to know who you are as well.
Especially in our world, like if you're in the community, then you see a lot of people who get new things every 2 weeks, and it can make you feel like you want to be part of that culture. Like we have mutual friends who went out and got the latest Mac Pro, even though nobody doing like this kind of stuff needs like 28 cores and 1.5 terabytes of RAM, but it's just like they could do it. But you have to really think, for most people, most of the time, we're going to keep these or we're going to hand them down or sell them or something for the next 5 years, maybe more. And this is more than capable for that.
And by the way, I've got a Mac Mini, maybe 2 Mac Minis, maybe an iMac 2020 available for sale soon.
R.I.P. iMac.
I've got Paul pointed out that they heard I was still using my cinema display from 10 years ago or whatever it was from. They were like, oh,
that's the whole point. They didn't make a new one until now. That wasn't your fault. They just didn't make a new one.
Well, they made that whole like fancy display, but like
Pro Display XDR.
I don't
6K for 6K.
Come on now. Like, that's way too much.
But I mean, like it's like the reference monitors cost $40,000, so you can get a lot of that for $6,000. But it's like people who buy Red cameras or RE cameras. It costs like $80,000 to trip that thing out. It's just not a camera that most people need.
Yeah, and I would like to. I was just making some adjustments. I would like to talk about fans. The reason that it's big and bold and like the biggest iMac Mini you've ever seen or Mac Mini you've ever seen is because of the fans, correct?
Yeah, so you've got basically the entire top of both the M1 Max and the M1 Ultra is just this double blower fan and heatsink. And the Ultra actually weighs 2 pounds more than the Max because instead of an aluminum heatsink, it's got a copper heatsink in it. So they are serious about pulling heat off of these chips. But the result of all that engineering is that it is whisper quiet. Like you almost never hear the fans. When you do hear the fans, they are incredibly quiet, and they're actually set up in a way that they don't make a lot of noise that humans and microphones pick up. And it is incredibly hard to actually make those fans blow. Like, I have not been able to do it. And I've been throwing everything at every core that I've been able to throw.
Really? Okay, that was my next question is what did you do to try and get the fans to go? Like you've just just
To go
throwing
burr.
everything at it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people like will complain that video people only talk about video with
Yeah.
these new boxes, and they want to see a bunch of other workflows. But video is one of the only workflows that actually hits everything because you're using the ProRes engines or the H.264 HEVC encode decode engines, but you're also hitting the GPU for any effects that you're doing at the same time. And then the CPU is doing like all the parent stuff. It's managing everything. And it's also handling any codecs that aren't handled by the ProRes. So it lights up a lot of the transistors on the chip, and very, very few things do that. So if it can handle high level video work, like 8K video work, it can handle almost everything else.
That's a really good point. This is a good question from the magical Mr. Paul Dixon about dust and cleaning it because you can't really get into it.
Yeah, it's a sealed appliance. Like I'm sure the people at iFixit will figure out how to crawl in through the security latch or something at some point. But it does have this big blower, so it's supposed to self clean a lot. And I'm gonna test it by just putting a vacuum up to the back of it and see what happens.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's the advantage of review units. But yeah, that remains to be seen. And that's true of a lot of Apple stuff. The applianceified almost everything at this point, which is good for people who aren't geeky and aren't hobbyists and aren't techie
Yeah.
and don't want to spend any time like they don't want to work for their computer. They want the computer to work for them. But for people who do want to get into the guts, it's just anathema. It's so frustrating.
So have you had to plug in an external dock, or are the ports enough?
They're way more than enough for me. I can make do with the MacBook Pro. Like I would rather have one extra Thunderbolt than the HDMI and the SD because I don't use HDMI or SD anymore. I use like Express, CF Express cards. But this has again 4 Thunderbolts on the Max, 6 on the Ultra, HDMI, SDXC, 2 old school USB-A. It doesn't have MagSafe because there's no external power brick like the iMac, and you need an external power brick for MagSafe. It doesn't work on direct AC current, so you have like an old school plug on it. You know, that's fine. It's not a deal breaker for me. It's not HDMI 2.1, it's HDMI 2. HDMI 2.1 is basically meaningless because the standard has made everything optional, but it would have been nice to get higher bandwidth on the HDMI port. And it's SDXC, not SDUC, and it's class 2, not class 3. So it's not the fastest SD card reader, but when you get into high-end video, you're like, we never live a non-dongle life, Luria. They change standards from FireWire 400 to 800 to DVI to dual-link DVI to it changes so much that you're gonna have to dongle at some point. Put your dongle pants on.
You know what? I speak a lot, right? And I haven't in a while because of the pandemic and stuff. And so I just got back from Social Media Marketing World speaking there in San Diego. I was sad to come back to the rain, but whatever. And so, you know, I took all of my normal devices that I use for speaking, a USB thumb drive, right? Because I always hand the device, the slide deck to the AV team. And then I always have my remote, right, which is also USB-A. And then I had my computer there trying to transfer everything, and I was like, crap. Like I didn't bring an adapter for all of those things. So, you know, it's so frustrating as you move over time because I have my normal like travel kit, and I just hadn't ever moved an adapter into that travel kit. So we always will have adapters and dongles and all of the things because of these, you know, changes to our computers. And I was like, grr, and no one could find anything too. But we got it worked out.
There's this weird culture. Like I will never shame another pro, but it seems like there's this weird culture where old school pros, like they don't want to ever change anything, like support the oldest standard forever. Where's my British naval connector? And then new pros are like, keep up. You know, you don't have the latest and greatest for everything. Why don't you support, you know, quantum tunneling fiber already, Apple? And like, it's like anyone who lives a block north than you is a northerner all of a sudden.
Yes.
And I just think like, make the middle happy. Like you can't cater to everybody who has the oldest stuff, and you can't cater to the bleeding edge. Just keep everyone in the middle happy. And I think that's pretty much what they've done.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to some questions, huh?
Yes.
All right. Sammy wants to know, did Luria get a Mac Studio? Yes, mine is coming end of March, 1st of April-ish. My dates I keep getting texts saying they're changing. The dates are changing. So the good news is it's come like it's coming earlier than it was originally planned. Anne says, I've just done, oh wait, hold on. I'm going to answer Mac questions and then go to open questions. So hang tight if you are asking a general question. We did answer this, Austin, about whether it opens up to replace parts, but a real quick recap. That was hard to say, Renee.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I think one quick thing I want to add though is like we live in a world right now where 2 years later you can't go into a store and buy a PS5. You can't go into a store and buy an NVIDIA, Ampere card off the rack. Like they're just still not available. And Apple is shipping bleeding edge chips. Like maybe you have to wait like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even a month or something, but you can still go in and order them. And that's like supply chain God mode, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay, so next question you also answered, but a quick recap from David Saltzman. Do you believe there will be a quick fix for the camera issues that have been reported?
Yeah, Apple said they're working on a fix for it. I mean, it's not terrible. It's just it looks like the bad HDR at this point, and we want good HDR. So they said they're going to do a software update for that.
Perfect. The joys of live stream when everybody comes in at different times, right? Austin.
Replay crew.
Yeah. The live streaming teacher, will the M1 Mini be good enough for remote production? It depends on the level of remote production that you're doing. Like we do all kinds of levels of remote production for clients where, maybe it's a very simple remote production, like logging in, or they log in to our computer, right? Or and literally just like deliver. If it involves additional like tech or additional complications like Zoom and all of that other stuff, so it changes the answer. So it depends on the level of remote production that you're doing in order to answer that. So if you're doing a pretty basic, simple one, then the Mac Mini can handle it for sure. Paul,
one more thing to that too?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so like I think one of the things that you often see, like there's this weird like benchmark LARP culture too, where everyone just like downloads an app and presses a button and tries to make a decision. But there is so much more. Like Luria is absolutely right about the compute power. Get double what you think you need because you're going to need more than you think. But also like performance for anything, including this kind of stuff, especially mission critical stuff, when like Luria's live with the space station crew or something, like absolutely nothing can go wrong. Like ambient temperature plays a role. RF, like what kind of quality transmission you have, not just the internet connection, but the kind of radio signals flying around you. So like you just want to throw massive amounts of resources to that stuff as much as you can, as often as you can. Otherwise, eventually something's going to go wrong.
Exactly. And when you're dealing with, like you said, like things that can't go wrong, I would consider any level of a client or any level of a production outside of like, on a live Q&A like we do on Fridays, like those things can go wrong, right? It's not that big of a deal. But if you're doing a production for an event of some kind or working with clients, like I say nothing can go wrong. So like make sure everything you have backups, you have all of the computing power. You got to make sure that you're taking care of business because this is live.
Yep.
It's live, right?
And you might even just want the Mac Studio because you've got 10 gigabit Ethernet built in. It could be as simple as that for you.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Paul Dixon wants to know, what are the Studio Display speakers like?
They are really, really good. So they're good physically in that it's basically like the love child of the MacBook Pro and the iMac. It's got a 6-speaker system. 4 of them are counterbalanced, so it doesn't shake the table or anything while you're listening to them, which is something they introduced with the MacBooks. But then you've also got all of Apple's computational audio, which takes whatever sound is coming in and builds a 3D sound stage out of it. And so it doesn't sound like the music is being like pushed at you. It sounds like it's being thrown all around you. Some people will say like, I have headphones. I don't need that in a display. But if you're on your own and you're living your best life and you want to rock out, it's nice to have good speakers to rock out to without having to and you can leave your ears naked at the same time. It's great.
Yes, totally. With the Mac Minis that I have in my studio, I have 2 Mac Minis, right? And the audio that comes out of those speakers for like my dancing countdown timers, so crappy, like horrible. So I had to get like additional speakers, right? And so, or put my headphones in, which I don't want to dance around with my headphones in if I don't have to. If I'm not having a guest, I'm not going to wear headphones. So, like those are definitely things to think about. Sammy wants to know, do you think the Mac Studio will replace the Mac Pro?
I think, like Apple doesn't have a master plan. I think a lot of people think that Apple's like 10 years ahead. They know exactly what they're going to do. But a lot of stuff is happenstantial. And like a little inside tidbit here. I was at an Apple event once and I was having a conversation and Johnny Ive walked by and the person next to me said, these are great products. And Johnny said, but are they? Are they really? We've only just given them to our customers. We're not going to know what they really are until our customers get their hands on them and tell us. And that sounds like weird, but that's really their philosophy. They want to they're going to look at everyone buying the Mac Studios. They're going to look at iMac numbers and they're going to see if we really if iMac was a habit, like we were just used to having a bigger iMac and the smaller iMac is fine. But I think if they find a lot of people aren't happy with this and they really want that bigger iMac, that's in the prototype stage already. They can just put that into production. So I don't think it's definite. I think it's a possibility, but it's going to depend on how we all react and what we tell them about the Mac Studio.
Love that. Love that insight. That's super helpful to know kind of what Apple, their process in terms of like the release and the testing.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else, but we'll just move on to another question because I
blame
totally
Sammy.
forgot.
Probably blame Sammy.
Music tutorials. Wait, did I ask this? Oh, never mind. Sorry. Music tutorial says, is the M1 Max faster in the studio than in the MacBook Pro because of the cooling system?
So it depends on which bit of the silicon you're talking about. The CPUs in the M1 Max are unconstrained. You can run them flat out, basically forever in the MacBook Pro. It's good enough for that, even in the 14-inch MacBook Pro. But if you have a workload that touches the entire SoC, the entire chipset, if it's lighting up the CPUs and the GPUs and the media engines, for example, maybe multiple streams of 8K video, then you will notice a difference because there's just massively more thermal envelope and cooling and all of that. If you're doing it for over 20 minutes. So it's really for the heaviest of workloads, you'll see the difference.
There you go. All right. So first of all, real quick.
So much jargon. Sorry.
No, not at all. That's not what I was laughing at. I was like, my multitasking.
She's like, those are words.
Those are words. So first of all, David Hunt, thank you so much for becoming a member. Became a member earlier when that music was going off and I totally spaced to call that out. So thank you, David Hunt. I thought you already were a member, but that's okay. Better late than never.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you out. And I know that a lot of you wanted to know how social media marketing world was going. We'll answer that here shortly after we're done with all of the questions for Renee. Okay, Mike wants to know, what is that black square behind you in the background? That's your TV.
That's my TV. Yeah, so Luria, my studio is in my house. And especially for the last 2 years, that's been super great. So my living room is here. This is where my dining room should be, but no, you can't YouTube in dining room.
You don't need a dining room, right?
No, who's dining? There's nobody here.
Right? Just TV tray. Duh.
Yep.
Actually, do you use TV tray? Where do you eat?
Usually in front of the TV on it. I've been in this living room, dining room area for 95% of the last 2 years, Luria. So at this point, yeah.
Crazy.
It's solitary confinement with TV is basically what it is. And internet.
And better food and water.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Sandy wants to know, will the OWC Thunderbolt 3 work with the new Mac Mini? I think that Sandy means the new Mac Studio. Have you tested that? I don't know that you have an OWC.
I haven't tested. I have tested other docks, and they all work fine. The nice thing about Thunderbolt 3 and 4 is that they are standard, so they're all going to work. You just won't need as much of it as you would with a device that has far fewer ports built into it. Perfect.
And just know that the Caldigit came out with the TS4 now as well. Had some problems. They supposedly have fixed those problems, but. So, when new things come out like that, you need to answer the question of what kind of person are you? Are you willing to take risks, or do you want to wait till everybody else figures it all out and then you can do that?
There's no amount of internal Q&A in the world that equals, millions of customers hitting your product.
Oh,
so if you want to be an early adapter and you want to be part of that fun, that's what you're signing up for.
Totally. Ray Edwards, dude. Hi. It's been forever. You know Ray?
I don't know. Ray,
Oh,
but he's
you
too
don't know
excited, so
Ray.
wanted
I
to-
need to introduce you. Ray is awesome. Stoked that they're live together. We do a lot of lives together these days with all of the Apple announcements and stuff, but it's so great to see you, Ray. Hope you're doing well. All right. Good day and God day. Misspelling. That's funny. Sammy wants to know, have you ever spilled something on a Mac? Oh, I guess this is for Renee, since he already knows that I have spilt coffee on my brand new day one old MacBook Pro a few years, like 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, I did that. So what about you?
Oh yeah, I mean, like if you haven't spilled something on a Mac by now, you're just not anxious or stressed or working like over hard enough. Like that, like your coordination goes down as your stress level goes up, and we've all been doing this for so long.
I think I can still see the coffee like in the little crease. Yep.
Was it black coffee or was it milk and sugar coffee?
Oh, of course, milk and sugar. I don't drink black coffee. So
there we go.
It wasn't milk and sugar.
I
It was
mean,
like
that's the worst.
creamer. I know, the worst.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as there's something sugary in there, it's just like it's way worse than just the pure water and caffeine.
Totally. Way worse. Okay. Anything else that you think people should know about the Mac Studios or the display?
Yeah, just a couple things. Like depending on what your workload is or what you want to be doing. Like for example, if you want to get into HDR at some point, which is not well supported yet, like by YouTube and other players, but it is clearly the future. You might want to wait because Apple is going to be making a Mac Pro. They said that during the event. And I think people have been confused because they consider the Mac Studio a modular machine in that you can pick between Max and Ultra, and you can pick between the Studio display or a different display. So you have like separate modules where you don't with an iMac. An iMac is an all-in-one. But they also have what they call expandable, and that is the Mac Pro. So if you like the idea of nothing to manage, nothing to go into, just like this little box that you can keep on your desk with like an SD card slot right up front, you can get this. But if you really want to have like a bunch of PCIe slots that you can throw RAID controllers in, or I don't know, light-based fiber. I'm blanking on the word for it. Fiber optic, Ethan, any of those sorts of things.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that blanks on words.
No, totally. Life is hard. Like live math and live product names are hard. You might want to wait on that Mac Pro. Like it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be more flexible, and you might get longer life out of it. And there's probably going to be a mini LED version of the Studio display to replace the Pro Display XDR. That's going to be more expensive, but it's going to look like the new MacBook Pro and the new iPad Pro display, full HDR capabilities. So you have to buy for like what's available when you need it, but you also, if you can, you want to think about what you might be doing a couple of years from now and buy forward, or wait and buy forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sandy wants to know, will the basic work for ECAMM and video editing sufficiently? Yes, definitely. Like if you, I know Sandy, you tend to join a little, or sometimes you do, so maybe you join late, but we did talk about, if you want to watch the replay, the differences between the Ultra and the Max, right at the top. And, you know, even because Sandy, you're not really pushing the limits of streaming, like you're not doing tons of cameras or anything like that. So you can get by with like probably the Mac Mini, the M1 Mac Mini. But if you want that extra, you know, forward thinking, forward buying type of mentality, then the Max is going to do you just fine. And
the Ultra is literally double Max. So like, if you need double, then you just get the Ultra.
Yeah, exactly. Which you don't. I believe the Mac Studio is the last Mac I will purchase for a while. It will live a long life for my uses. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
And the nice thing about it, like you hear in production places a lot, is that you can also keep, like these work as glue for a lot of things. Like if you ever want to have some other task that's running, you buy a new computer, you can dedicate this to like Luria does sometimes, where she has like a bunch of other people doing production. You can make that a secondary node, or you can make it do some sort of server functionality. That's what's great about these little boxes, is that it can live anywhere and do anything as you grow and do bigger and bigger workloads.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I'll let you answer this question. I live stream, create tutorials with eCamm, and edit them in Final Cut Pro X. Final Cut Pro X 10, whatever X. Do you think I'm overpowered?
They got rid of the X. They got rid of that. They got rid of that last year, so you're fine now. It's just Final Cut again. Yep.
Phew.
I know. Make up your mind, Apple. Is it an X or is it a 10? Because you keep using both.
Did you see the full question?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm overpowered with a Mac Studio, or does a Mac Mini calibrate for this workflow?
Yeah, so I mean, there's the way to put it really is that how much do you value time and how much do you value money? Like you can make more money, you can't make more time, but you don't always have the money. So you got to think really hard. The Mac Studio will literally do things twice as fast as the Mac Mini. So if you need to get videos turned around, like if that helps you getting videos turned around twice as fast, or editing videos that are twice the resolution or have twice as many effects, if you can double your workload for the same money, or like keep the same workload for twice the money, then it's worth it. But if you have way more time than money, then you're fine with like a Mac Mini, anything like that.
Yeah. And Tech Takeaway had essentially the same question. So Tech Takeaway, I'm hoping that Renee's answer answered your question. You know, we all have the different workflows that we're using and the different apps, but essentially, you know, DaVinci isn't going to be any heavier than like Final Cut, right? So
yeah, DaVinci is the same thing. They scale well, and Apple's got a pro workflows team now. They hired basically really world famous photographers and videographers, people who work on Netflix, people who work on like the biggest projects in the world, to come to Apple and work on it there. So they yell at Adobe and they yell at Blackmagic and all those people on our behalf to get rid of bottlenecks. So the stuff works really, really well. And like as a quick example, in my tests, I have my iPhone 13 review is 17 minutes of 4K 10-bit RAW with a bunch of other codecs thrown in. And it's literally like every time I step up, it is twice as fast to export in ProRes. Like it goes from 12 minutes to 6 minutes to 3 minutes, almost linearly. And if I want to go to sleep and I hit upload before I go to sleep, getting it done in 3 minutes is invaluable to me, frankly. So like,
yeah,
that's what you're paying for. Or like, it's so fast now, I can't get up and get coffee before it's done. I think I forgot to press render. It's so fast sometimes.
No.
And that is meaningful to some people. Like someone else was saying that when they get a client on the phone, finally, they only have that client. Like if it's a famous music star or a famous actor, for 3 minutes, and the ability to send them a new version when they say, I don't like that dance move. Okay, boom, here you go. While you're still on the phone, that's the difference between having that business or not for them.
Yeah, a very, very good point. Like that can, I mean, it's sad that you can't go get more coffee, but
I know.
It can
I get
help
it
you make
between
more
videos
money.
now. I get it while processing other stuff. Yep.
Yeah, the Mac Studio M1 Max I've ordered is more power than I'll ever need, but buying new Apple kit makes you happy. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that that's all of the Mac questions that came in. We did have one.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah, go for it.
This will come up. It is incredibly powerful. The graphics are incredibly powerful, but it's still a Mac. So if like hardcore gaming is on your menu, you are still going to have to go to like an NVIDIA or AMD and Windows restaurant to get those things. That still hasn't come to the Mac yet. So that comes up all the time. And I think even though it's super powerful, it doesn't mean anything until the game developers actually build for it. And we're still waiting for a lot of that.
Really good. Yeah. Thanks, Renee. Andre says, I think a Mac Studio is better. I'm wasting so much time cutting in Final Cut these days. However, my 5K iMac 2015, wow, late 2015. So if I can save time and money, I'd rather choose the faster version. And that is an extremely valid business choice, right, for productivity.
Even just like going through Finder with like quick view, like on the old Intel iMac, it'd be like picture, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, picture, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, next one. This one is just like boom, 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 boom. Like the seconds you save out of every minute are as important as every minute you save out of every hour.
Boom. That's a mic drop moment right there. Can you say that again? I'm going full screen on you.
All right. The seconds that you save out of every minute are just as important as the minutes that you save out of every hour.
Yes. Who liked that?
Quality of life. It's all about quality of life.
It really is. Cindy says, I'm old enough that I forget what I need to do with the video after it finally renders. I need that speed.
Yep. Yep.
I hear
Which
you.
window is it uploading in? Is it uploading? Where's that? Oh, I closed the window.
Yeah, exactly. A random question, the only random question we got from Anne, I'm glad that you're still here. You were asking about, you said, I've just done my first 2 live streams to Facebook and YouTube. Do you have a prior lesson on how to post a notice or create an event on YouTube? I know how to do this on Facebook, not on YouTube. So it depends on if you're using Restream. It depends on, but yeah, so like you actually go into, we do have videos, but you go into the YouTube backend. So if you say, when you're in your studio, then you go to go live, and then it will actually pull you into their back end manager. Then there are 3 buttons on the left-hand side of your window. You're going to go to the 3rd button, the last button. That's going to allow you to schedule a new live stream and edit everything right there. So hopefully that helps. If you're doing it through Restream or something else, then those instructions change. Oh, Restream. Okay, so through Restream, I would suggest you do an event through Restream, and that's like the 2nd or 3rd icon on the left-hand column, and then you can schedule to both Facebook and YouTube right then and there. But I would highly suggest events that will allow you to control things a little bit better, and then you can go into YouTube to manage YouTube or make some changes as well. All right, you guys, if you have not followed Renee, do so right now. His YouTube channel is right there, youtube.com/Rene Ritchie. If you like all of this geeky talk, all of the Apple conversations, and Renee actually, like, he does some really cool, interesting, like, insightful videos as well on his channel. It's not just about tech reviews. He goes deeper than that. So I love, obviously, the content that Renee always does. And I know that everybody here loves you as well. So if you're not following him, go do that. Renee, when is the studio video coming out? Super stoked and waiting on it. Apparently you promised.
So I have the Mac Studio video went up yesterday, and the Studio Display video I'm going to work on this afternoon. So hopefully I'll have that up this evening or tomorrow morning.
Perfect. Yeah. Renee is awesome. Thank you for joining us.
The video got it was like 20-minute long on the Mac Studio, and I figured I'll make so it's not 40 minutes long. I'll make the display video separate.
That's probably smart because people will be looking for it separately anyway, right?
Oh, one thing I didn't mention, this is kind of tangential. Final Cut has some new features coming to take advantage of the new Macs. So one is going to be a neural engine-based noise reduction. So if there was like construction or traffic or wind, you'll be able to press a button and in real time get all of that, as much of that noise as possible, cut out while preserving as much of your talkie head as possible. And it's going to automatically detect duplicate footage. So if you use the same B-roll twice or the same clip twice, it'll flag that for you. So you don't get like, embarrassed by saying like the wavy hand 3 times in a row at the intro of the video.
Wait, it'll flag that for you where?
It'll flag in the timeline. It'll put a bunch of dashed lines on saying this footage is used twice in this video.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. I like that. I mean, sometimes you want to, right?
Yes, but like you want to do it on purpose.
You want to do it on purpose? Yes, totally. That is a nice update. All right, Renee, are you ready to dance this baby out?
Oh, I was born ready.
Okay. Viewers, chat room, are you ready to dance this baby out? As soon as we get the new feature from YouTube Live, we will practice raids. So keep paying attention to those. Renee's already dancing. There's no music.
Drop that needle. Drop that needle.
Yeah, I'm coming. We're coming to the credits. We're coming. Everybody's ready. But keep paying attention. Stay subscribed. Show up to these live streams because that's going to be a fun thing to test as a community. All right, baby. Credits. Really? Every single freaking time.
Maybe she'll raid you.
It's true. Maybe I'll raid you. That would be fun. All right. Get those dancing shoes on and let's dance this baby out.